welcome back to Crystal Clear Moments. I am your podcast host, Crystal Blackwell. It is a new year. I want to say it's a new me, but not really. How about a new year and a better me? And I'm going to kick off all of my series in the month of January and February. We're just powerful people that are doing great things within the community, within culture, within a space of just supporting people. What a great way to start the year. So podcasters, thank you again for your support and love for me in 2024. I accomplished some really good podcast goals, and I'm super excited. And let me tell you, there's going to be some different things going on in my podcast this year, so be prepared. So today I have here Keshia Beach, who is my guest. And before we jump into her business, because we're going to get into your business, girl, okay? I just want to give you, my podcasters, a view, a window of when I first met you. So do you remember when we first met, by any chance? Because I was thinking about that, Keisha, and I couldn't remember when we first met. So it was, I agree, it was kind of cloudy, but I remember when you and I met for lunch.
Yes.
And I think that's I think we knew each other in the same community. So to give you some background, we're both part of the same community. It was in Chandler. And it was during a time where it was around the George Floyd, it was COVID, and it was really interesting time. I think it was, the world, the state, the city, everyone was feeling is interesting times, and feelings were high and creativity was high, and everyone was looking for different solutions, and it was all about figuring out how we're going to move forward in this space of culture, of fairness, equity, diversity, inclusion, all of that. And it was at a 10, I think, during that. So you and I met for a lunch, and I was so impressed with your pragmatic attitude toward justice and culture, and how you were just the passion I had not seen. Now, don't jump on me, millennials, about this. I just have not seen that at that level ever. And I just right away just thought that you were going to be someone to reckon with in the future. I may even told you that. I would go, this world don't know that this Keshia Beach got something for him. And I love that. And you're fired up and you're passionate. But not only did you have a lot of mouth, because you do, and I love that about you, you can back it up.
And I will every time.
You can back it up, and you're not afraid, and you have a good courage about you that, and it's not a cocky, it's not arrogant, it's a good courage and confidence, and you don't have a problem letting people know how you feel, why you feel it, what we need to do about it. Like, that's how you communicate it. This is how I feel. This is why I feel it, and this is what I think we should do about it. So I love that about you, and I've sat back and watched you just grow more and more into your space as a woman, as a Black woman, as a woman who's making her footprints in this world, as a global thinker, as a person that thinks about the community. So welcome, Keshia Beach.
You.
I want you to tell my podcast listeners about you. Like, what made you, what was about your past that inspired you to be who you are and where you are today?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year. It's so good to see you again.
Yes.
I love our conversations and just sitting, and it is crazy because I don't remember the very first time,
I know.
but I definitely remember when we finally sat down and we were like, we need to sit down and we need to talk. And that was a great, amazing conversation I have remembered forever. And you actually inspired me to keep going and to stay motivated, because it is a challenging time and place for, Black women to really get up and speak their mind,
Absolutely.
Because it can be taken negatively sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would say kind of what got me going is just the way I was brought up and raised. I mean, I grew up in a Jamaican household. My family's from Jamaica. So I think being able to see kind of the differences in how I grew up and what I was doing for my daughter, and really just focused on community and building and team building and working together. Like, I just wanted to carry that forward, with me in my mission right now. And, it's so crazy because I've been doing this, and people don't know, it might not have been on a large scale, but on a smaller scale in school, with family,
That's
with
how it starts.
with some of the different organizations that I was just even a part of. And it was all about, let's figure out how we work together, and let's figure out how to make things fair, and let's figure out how to move forward and make it efficient, because I don't like to waste time. Nobody does. Well, hopefully nobody does, but I know I don't. So it started at an early age, just based on how I was raised, and kind of seeing my daughter go through her different things with her friends, and seeing some of those differences. I'm like, I have to be able to do something, and carry what I've been doing forward. And so that's where it really started. And I think George Floyd was just kind of like, it was just more so like a motivator. Like, no, you need to get going.
I felt that from you. Yeah.
It was like lighting a fire under me. And I was just like, I got to get going. And, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, when there's a purpose, or when you're destined for something, nothing can stop that. Nothing's going to come in between that. It doesn't matter what road bumps, I hit, what people come at me, challenging me about the work that, we're trying to do and move forward. Like it just won't stop me, because I know I'm destined to do what I'm doing, and this is my purpose, is to build community and bring people together.
Okay, folks, you see why I have her here? This is my girl. Look at that. I love it, because, again, you're just not saying this. You have strategic plans and results to prove, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to go back to you talking about how you were brought up, because you and I talked a little bit about that, and I think it's interesting. I think people need to know. They look at us culturally as monolithic, but we're all very different. So your parents, you're first generation American, your parents were immigrants, right? So talk to us about the Black experience for a first generation American, because I think we feel, for some reason, we think we all have the same story, and we don't. So tell us about that, and how that showed up for you, like when you were in school, and how that, impacts you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That showed up early on. I knew right away there was something different, and I couldn't put my finger on it, because for me internally, I'm looking at myself like I look just like everybody else. That's my skin color, and I'm thinking, we're all brought up the same values, the same everything. And it's just very different for everybody. The Black experience is so different. And to put the Black community all in one box just isn't going to work. And I realized that early on. And just with some of the different things that I was going through, my family, they came here, and it was more of like this motivation to be disciplined, and to, this is our only chance. We have to make something of ourselves, because this is what we fought for to get here, So that was kind of carried over into myself, my brothers, my sisters, for us to just, but the only thing is what I saw with my family was them all coming together and doing things together, and being supportive of each other, and helping each other along the way. And some of the things that I had noticed just even growing up was that part was missing, that part of, hey, it's okay to help and assist, and to, use your experience to help move other people along, without this fear that they're going to bring you down, and you have to use a little discernment, because there's, just with every culture and every, just different people, things are different, but at the root of it, that's not going to happen. People aren't just going to pull you down, it's okay to lift people up and to help motivate them and encourage them and use your experience. So that was early on, like I said, in elementary school, I noticed that.
I remember a story you told me when you and I met. Again, now we've met, saw each other a million times after, but this particular meeting, we didn't know each other. So it was more of a getting to know you sort of a lunch. And I remember you telling me the story about, I think you ran track in high school. And what was different about you is that when you had support, your whole family showed up. Like, your entire family would come to your meets, and everybody was like, why is your entire family here? And you said everything you did, your tribe was like there. And that for you, that stood out to you how so many other kids of color, Black girls, boys, who didn't have that. Maybe had mom there, dad, maybe mom and dad, maybe mom and grandma, but you is able to say everybody, and how that impacts you in such a positive way. But then you were able to see, which I find fascinating, that you were able to see it through empathetic eyes, that this is not how it is for others. And that how it can make them feel like, so you right away knew that was a blessing that you had that support. So that I remember that story, and I got this visual in my head, this whole bleachers full of like the Keshia Beach family and then everybody else, and I could definitely see that.
And you know what's crazy is I've always been that person, and I'll get on that too, but I've always been a person that just push barriers, even at a young age. A lot of people I know, and a lot of people don't know that. At the age of 7, I told my mom, I am not going to be a cheerleader like everybody else. My mom was a cheerleader. I'm not going to do that. I played Pop Warner football. And let me tell you, my whole family came out, and I still remember even my grandparents.
Girl? What position?
I was faster than everybody. I was the receiver. I was making touchdowns. My coach said, when you make a touchdown, you take your helmet off and let them know you're a girl. Shake your hair.
I love that. That's my girl.
With the family, though, even something like that. They were so supportive. They all showed up. They were running down the sidelines with me while I was running to score a touchdown. And so it's things like that. I had track meets, and it was just their whole family was there. The whole family. And track, you know anything about track, especially in Arizona, you are outside all day in this heat. It is not fun, okay?
And but they were there.
They were all there. And I don't recall a time where I haven't had any family show up to anything that I've done. And then, I have a daughter, and that multiplied.
I've seen that. I've seen where, your daughter has like a small city showing up. Yes, definitely.
And we tried to, and I pointed that out to her too early on, because I noticed it right away, and I pointed that out to her. And not that I wanted her to compare herself, but more so I wanted her to understand and to see that difference, and to see how blessed that, we are to have that. Yeah, it's not a bunch of money, but to be able to have a backing, a community backing and support that's lifting you up and pushing you and encouraging you along the way. Man, you can go so much further. You can go so much further with that support.
Would you say that was a crystal clear moment for you when you realized? Because if you grew up with it all the time, I'm sure at one point you were like, "Wait, this is different. I'm blessed for this." Yeah. When did you know that this was a crystal clear moment for you?
Yeah, so I have a couple of really good friends, and they had some challenges early on when we were in high school, unfortunately, to the point where it wasn't even a question. My family said, "No, you guys are going to come stay here with us, and we're going to be your family." And it was just like, my family? What? This is wild. These are my high school friends. They don't know anything about what they have going on. Yeah, they're going through some challenging things, but man, just to even just see that, and just them bringing them in, and them feeling so welcome, and, and being able to sit and have those conversations with them, and them telling me, man, you are so lucky, and I'm so glad to know you, and thankful that, your family is accepting, us in. And it was two friends, for some reason, just had some things happen in high school where they both ended up having to live with us. And my family, it wasn't a big deal. It was, we're just going to take care of you like you're, our kid as well, or our niece, our grandkids, whatever. And they did everything that we did, so that was like eye-opening and a crystal clear moment, I would say as well. Like that was huge,
That's nice. So that's a great foundation for you to know that, that lesson, what I'm hearing is support. Like support matters. Like it matters. However it can show up for you.
Right.
It matters, especially as you're growing up, a small child, a young, elementary, high school, and even adults. Just having that support really helps and help you, kind of fuels you to do what you need to do, live your purpose. So now we're in, let's say, high schoolish, maybe the college era, and we're still, building Keshia Beach. And I want you to start talking about, when did you get that bite? Because I think it's like a bite you get for the community. Like everyone doesn't get bit by the community bug. Not that people aren't community minded,
right?
Because we want people to write checks.
Right.
Some of us, we want check writers, right?
Exactly.
Write your check, please.
Yep.
But then we have those who are workers. Like, you know what? I want to actually work in the community. And build things and create and help solve problems. When did you know that? When did you get bit by I want to support my community bug?
Yeah. So I would say pretty early. So, and early, certain things happen to you along the way. I ended up having my daughter at a very early age. I was 19 years old. Or I was pregnant at 19. I had her right before I turned 20. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was in college. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what this was supposed to look like, but I knew what I wanted it to look like. And I knew the life that I wanted to make sure that she was exposed to, based on what I was exposed to and the things that I got to see. And by having those conversations with friends and different people that I crossed, from junior high, high school, beginning of college, and just kind of starting to understand and see a lot more of those differences that we experience. I knew right away, the moment she came out, what kind of life I wanted to make sure that I provided for her, and what I wanted her to see. And then the type of person that I could only imagine her to be after, to continue, that cycle. And so that was really the start of it, was when she was born. About a year and a half after she was born, my grandpa, who was the main person, I would say, in our family, really made sure to emphasize that community and that building. And he did that and showed me really both my grandparents, they showed me an example of what that looks like by the work that they did. And he died about a couple of years after my daughter was born. And everybody just kind of looked at me like, what are we doing? That was kind of that leader of the family. And I remember having
Did you feel that shift?
I did. And I didn't really, I guess, realize he was kind of like that main person in our family that was kind of leading a lot of those efforts and things like that until he was gone. And some of it just kind of paused. And I remember my grandma took me to the side and we talked, and she goes, "You're that person, you are the one." She's like, "You carry those same things and the things that you've already done." She's like, "I don't know if you've realized, but that was keeping the family together and keeping these things moving. And, you do so much just already in the community." And she's like, "You have to continue that on." And I remember having that conversation. I'm like, how am I going to do that with having a little
How'd
tiny
you
baby?
feel when she told you?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
That felt like a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can imagine.
It's just like,
right. You
I got to do this?
Take a step back. Your grandfather, a generation above, your mom's dad or your grandfather was leading the family, and by the time you came along, it appeared, I'm sure, seamless. It was seamless, and then he passed away, and then all of a sudden, everyone, you feel the shift, but then your grandmother confirms it. That, okay, now it's your turn to lead the family. That's gotta feel.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It was definitely a lot.
But you got shoulders for it, girl. I mean, you really do.
Hey.
You can handle it. I'm not that. I'm telling you, when I met you, I was like, okay, I like this little firecracker right here. Yes, you definitely can. I mean, and what an honor What an honor. You know, like you said, he was prepping you. The family was prepping you the whole time, and you're just being you. You're thinking you're being you. I think you mentioned when you and I met that you were like in Black Student Union high school, and you were always putting together, you know, different things and for causes. So you were practicing all of this stuff before, and he was just behind you, I'm sure, gently coaching and nudging and encouraging and supporting you along the way. So when your grandmother told you that, did you feel like, I got this?
No, absolutely not.
That's a good answer. That means that's real, because most of the times when we have our big assignments, our initial reaction is, what?
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? Who told me? Why me? Do I have the skills? I'm afraid. Like, all of that to me, I think, is the natural response. If you would have been like, I got this. Oh, no.
No.
I know,
and
right.
that's normally me. Because even when I know inside, I don't got this. I got this. I got this because I just got to keep it going. Because if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? You know? So I would say it was probably a mix of that. But, you know, I saw kind of what they were doing because back in Chandler, I remember they took out all of the curriculum change. They took the arts out, the music out. And so that's really where I saw my grandparents kind of like step in, because they were like, oh, that's not okay. This is important for kids to experience. And so just to remove that, we got to do something. So they started just teaching kids music at the school right there, right next door to their house. And it turned into this big nonprofit where they just teach music and provide instruments. And I got to experience that and be around that. And, you know, I got to get the, you know, the education and the training in just that piece of it, and got to see it firsthand. And, you know, when my daughter was born and she started school, I was the art masterpiece teacher. You know, I was doing all of those same types of things, just on a smaller scale, but at her school with the kids that she was with. You know, I have a fitness background. So when she started doing sports, and it was, all right, let me bring all the friends along with her, because I want to make sure they have the same opportunity. And we're going to go do some sports performance training, and I'll coach them, you know, and do all that, because I don't want them to fall behind. Because I know, especially with, you know, kind of where sports are even going, it's like, you know, they're focused on that main sport and that one sport, and really, you know, so it's, what can I do to assist and to help? And it just kept snowballing into other things, you know, for me to do. And then in 2020, you know, it was just like this fire under me, like, you need to get up and do something.
Definitely saw that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned nonprofit, because I want to hear how, you know, I hear the background, and I'm seeing your nonprofit shaping before you even begin. Like all of the different you're exposed to, and your family, and I always say God has you in school before, you know, you have like your first test. You know, so you were learning and being schooled and being trained, and you were open to it. Like you weren't trying to lead before your time. You were, and then what I love is you have a heart for the community, whereas it wasn't about just you and yours. It was about you and others. Like, if I can bring my daughter along, I can bring her friends, okay, and then some more friends. So everything began to grow. When did you land on Base, Arizona?
Yeah. So, you know, it's so crazy, because like I said, this is like a family thing, and the way our family grew up. So Base actually started in Oregon a couple of years before Arizona started. And it didn't start as Base, but it started the same way, kind of like what we saw growing up, where, you know, the curriculum's changed, or, you know, just different things. So I remember talking to my brother, and he's like, you know, my kids started school, and this is so crazy, but they don't
your brother had Base. Well,
they were younger,
Base,
a couple of years younger.
Oregon, but it wasn't called that.
Right,
okay.
right.
Okay.
It was more so, well, I just need to act and do something, because my kids are going to school and they're not even learning about Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
He's like, that is so
That's
crazy
basic.
to me.
It's like as
Yeah.
basic as you can get
Right.
in the Black history.
Listen. And it was just like, seriously, they don't even have it in
Not
their
that he's
history
basic,
books?
don't get
Right.
me wrong. All right? Please.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
you know.
So I remember
there's more.
sitting having a conversation with him, and he's like, so did Naomi have that, my daughter? And I'm like, yeah, it's in Arizona. We got that in Arizona. I mean, it's not in depth, but at least they understand what the day is, and they had spent maybe a day and a half, maybe a half a day, going through it. But, to not at all is wild. So it was just like, the conversation was, well, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I went down to the school and I went to go talk to him, and they basically told me if I'm not going to do something, they're not worried about it. And so he's like, I guess I gotta act. And I said, yeah, I guess you gotta act. I guess you gotta do something. So I remember sitting there talking to him about that. And so BASE started with just seeing something that was missing, seeing that education that was missing in the schools in Oregon, and it turned into, okay, we're just going to do a Martin Luther King event for the schools.
Okay.
And then we're going to, oh, well, they don't have Juneteenth. They don't know what Juneteenth is. We're going to start doing a Juneteenth here. And I remember my brother along the way, he's like, oh, well, why don't you do that? I said, Vance, I'm in Arizona. You know how many Martin Luther King events and Juneteenth events that we have?
We're actually we're clashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got so many things going on. He's like, yeah, but he's like, okay. So it kept going. And then it turned into, there was this need where it was like, hey, we want to do something a little bit more frequently, as far as educating on our culture. And I remember we started having those talks. So then my brother's sending me all these books, and we're going through it, and we're talking about how we were raised and how we grew up. And that was the beginning of BASE, and it was in Oregon. And then he kept pushing me. He's like, I think you really need to do this. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this in Arizona. We have the NAACP, we got the Urban League, we have all these other organizations. I don't want to step on anybody's toes or do something that they're doing. And it didn't. And then George Floyd happened. And I said, you know what? We are not doing enough. And I can't even tell you the last time that I was a part of any of the things that they had going on, because I just didn't know about it.
Right,
and there has to be something where, we have maybe this base or this foundation of an organization that can work on bringing people together. And throughout my life, that's all I've ever done was bring people together, bring people together,
That's
bring
your
people
gift.
together.
Yeah.
And so my brother's like, Keisha, with everything going on, it's time. You need to do this. And I said, all right. And there was no question at that point in time, once, kind of seeing everything that was going on and the environment and the moods and just how people were feeling in the conversations. It was wild.
Yeah,
it was so wild.
It was a wild time. When you reflect back on it, it was a gloomy, it felt like it was gloomy every day, all day. And we're living in sunny Arizona, and it still felt like it was a gloomy day every day. Yeah. So let's talk about BASE. So what is the acronym? I know it stands for something.
Yeah, so BASE stands for Black Alliance in Social Empowerment.
Okay, so I love that. I knew that. And then, so you have a base in Oregon. And then, of course, the one in Arizona.
Yes.
So talk to us about the programs that, as the managing director, and that you do. Now, I know what you do. You're in the paper. I know some of the different things. But before, the one thing I want you to talk about first, which I think is super cool, I love the name of it, was it Afro
Scouts.
Afro Scouts. I love Afro Scouts. I love it. So clever. So talk about, Afro Scouts, but also about the things that you do, your mission, and like where you guys are at currently. So tell us about BASE.
Okay. Yeah. So BASE it's an acronym, and it stands for Black Alliance Social Empowerment. And when you think of a base, it's that foundation, right? It's a strong foundation that can support. And so that's how we look at BASE, and just that whole thought process, I guess, behind it, and choosing a name, because that's how we grew up. We had a strong foundation, and that's what we believe our community needs, is a strong foundation. So, and BASE is all about building a community, but a thriving community. And, the way that we focus on doing that, not only having a foundation, but on a couple of different pillars. So education, cultural enrichment, advocacy, and economic development. And those things we believe are what, when they come together, you can build a thriving, strong community. And so we do that by a couple of different programs. So we have our Afro Scouts, which is our youth development program. It focuses on leadership, socialization. The big part about that, which I felt growing up, was the representation. So our kids have representation, and they see faces that look like them in a positive way. They see these faces that look like them doing things that they haven't even imagined were even possible.
Oftentimes with like Divine Nine, you partner with leaders in in organizations, community leaders. So they're actually meeting people who look like them that are in leadership roles who have similar stories, similar backgrounds.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because, you, especially as a kid, if you're constantly seeing like, other things or, things are negative, or you see, which, just the American culture, we like to showcase the negative side of our community.
So true.
And that's all our kids get to see. And then so that gets to be ingrained in their brains. And then now it's like there is no hope. There is no, I can accomplish or achieve or any of that. There's no dreams,
Or the dreams are limited.
Right.
I can be an athlete, or I can be an influencer, or I can be
Right.
whatever, but it's limited instead of seeing that it should be unlimited.
Right. Yeah. And, I'm vocal and my daughter is vocal and it is important for our community to be vocal, like stand on what you believe, speak on it, talk about it, educate people on it. I think that is so important for our community and to not be scared. Don't shy away. It's okay.
I get that.
And so that's why it's important for our Afro Scouts program, because we put them in these positions and they're with people that support them. They look like them. They're encouraging them, to be okay with speaking out and having conversations that you wouldn't have felt comfortable having, before, but now you're surrounded by people that look like you, so you can practice here,
So if you have what's the age for?
Yeah, so we are 4 up to 17 years old.
Perfect. So if you are a parent with a child of color, African American descent, we come in all shapes and sizes and hues and all of that. Show up, they could reach out to you at base to say, I want my child, son or daughter, to be part of this program.
Yeah. And we offer a lot of different programs. I mean, we have a chess club that we do every month, that will turn into a chess tournament. We have a creative writing program, which is really cool because I also have like an extension of the creative writing program where we do it all virtually. And it's a couple of girls right now that are on it. They're so fun. They're so they're so smart and so bright, and they get to be put in a different position to really bring in their creativity and create different writing pieces, poems and things like that. I just took a group of girls to go speak at a Kwanzaa event that we had at the end of last year, and just to hear their stories, these are their own stories, They did a collaborative poem. I mean, these girls are just so amazing, and all of our kids are so amazing. So we do all kinds of different things, and we're getting ready to, this spring, we're going to have our first ever youth entrepreneurship program.
Okay, I want to play in that little arena.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And I think that's important because, when we talk about economic development or economic empowerment, it's really hard sometimes to have those conversations with our community because we didn't grow up around these things. We didn't grow up with these tools.
Still.
Right. We're still in a process of learning. And I can tell you, growing up for me, my dad did all those things. He was a business owner. I got to see that firsthand. And that was important for me, to do what I'm doing because I don't have any fear. I know what to look for, what to ask for, and, just those different things because I grew up around it. And So we decided we're going to launch that program this spring for our kids, so they get that same experience that I had, so that as they navigate life, that opportunity is available and open to them.
And this kind of brings me to, because you have the nonprofit, you have Base of Arizona that you run, and then but it reminds me, I sort of think about you have a business. Like, are you not busy enough that you have a business in the fitness arena area where you have like a fitness?
Yeah, it's
fitness club, basically, in North Scottsdale, Biltmore area. Really nice area where you deal with one-on-ones or groups. So tell us about your entrepreneurial piece. So not only you're busy enough in nonprofit world, and I'm telling you, busy. Like your back to school is. I mean, every year it grows and grows and grows. I want to say something about that before we go on. Your back to school is so phenomenal. You not only give them supplies, you do hair, you give them clothes, you prepare them, mind, body, and soul for school.
Absolutely.
I love the backpacks, don't get me wrong, but you make sure that Base is covering all areas.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make that point. What makes Bases unique, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of back to school programs, been part of some. I love that you do things like, let's comb her hair.
Yeah.
Let's line up the brother's hair for tomorrow for school. Let's show the preteen or the teenage girl, if she wants to put a little makeup on, how to do it in a very tasteful way. Yeah. Let's show the young brother, how to wear his clothes. You don't necessarily have to sag to look cool, to look like you're there. So I love that you guys look at them and you talk about self-esteem and all of that. So I wanted to really just give you your roses and your flowers on that here. Because it's really, the back to school thing is, and I hear people talking about it, it really has made its footprint in the community.
Yeah.
So job well done on that.
Thank you.
Job well done.
And, again, I think it's just one of those things where, we don't try to limit, and we don't also, it's not a welfare program. That's not what we're trying to create, but it's more of exposing. Once you can expose, our kids to these different things, and you can teach them and you can educate them. Here's how we properly take care of our hair. Yes, mom might be busy because she has to work 3 jobs, but that doesn't mean you can't be educated on how to do this yourself. That doesn't mean you can't be educated on how to eat properly, to take care of yourself. That doesn't mean you can't be educated on how to, dress up, for an interview or to write a resume, or to start even thinking about the college that you want to attend.
Absolutely. In 5th grade.
Right.
Yeah, already start thinking about it. Absolutely. Yeah.
You have to, because why are we going to wait? Because you wait and then it's like, well, now I have to, because all these other things now happen. No, those things have to be talked about. And if that's how we can use our platform to educate and expose and to teach, and, then that's how we're gonna, do it. Because I know that I was blessed because I received all those things at an early age. My daughter was blessed because she received all those things at an early age. And that wasn't a bunch of money, but it was just somebody just, giving you that knowledge or speaking life into you, encouraging you.
That's worth billions.
Yeah.
It's life-changing.
Absolutely,
and you can change generations in your family just by sharing knowledge. I mean, I think knowledge sharing, you cannot put a dollar amount on that.
Right.
And what I love about you is that in all of your fire and all that what you do, and the fact that you're confident and you speak up and you're coachable, because in all of that space, you still listen and you still want to learn, and you're still not so I got this and I can't be mentored. And I think having that, Keisha, is such a great thing, because that's going to make your good great and your great greater, that you're still open to learning. And you have a lot of knowledge anyways, because you're like an old lady. You're an old lady on the inside. On the inside, it's like I'm talking to a peer, but even though you're not, but you have a lot of wisdom. That, that some people have an extra scoop of wisdom inside of you, and you do, but you're responsible with it. And I think that, again, these are the things that I feel like really set you apart. And I always have said that. I've said this to you, I said to others, really a leader in your generation, really are taking that that leadership role for your generation. You're a voice for people, young adults in our culture, and I hope that at an international level, people can tap into that, because I believe you have a lot to say and you have a lot to share, and you got some strategy behind it. So let's talk about your business.
Yeah.
I think the business is your baby, right? This is like your baby, because you lit up. You're like, this is your thing. So tell us about your entrepreneurial journey at this point.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I laugh and call myself a true Jamaican because I touched a bunch of different things and tried a bunch of different things.
Yeah,
and
that's okay.
as far as work, or entrepreneurship. And but right now, I have my partner and we have 3 franchises of a fitness boutique fitness concept called Body 20. It's a EMS technology brand, I guess. And what attracted me to it is again our community, and and thinking about what are ways that we can keep our community healthy.
Yes,
because
I know, girl.
There's just a lack of education there,
Yes.
and it just brought me right back to that place, and that's what attracted me, because a lot of the people that are gonna be using this or that do use it are probably about 40 and up. That's the majority of the the population that uses it. But when we think about our community, those are also the most uneducated as far as health.
And fitness.
And fitness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is it. That was part of the mindset as far as deciding to go that route with that specific franchise, was that we can tap into our community a little bit more and to, a quicker, easier way that's less stressful on the body to get them to start working out.
Right. So what wins have you had in that space? Do you feel like you're making, a move, or getting to people to understand the importance of our wellness in terms of physical fitness and, how we eat and, taking care of ourselves, going to the doctor, blood work, all that comes with that? Do you feel like that you're moving the needle?
Yeah, I would say so. And one of the things that I do want to highlight is that we are the first Black franchise or owners of the franchise for Body 20, and then the only Black franchise here in...
You have 3 of them.
Right. And
Good
the only
for
Black
you.
franchise here in Arizona. And on top of that, we are the #1 producing franchise in the entire network.
Stop.
And
there
so
you go. That's my girl. Yep. See, I told you guys.
I can't
this
just get in
girl
there
is-
and halfway
right.
do it.
Yes.
So
right.
And so now we're on the advisory board for the franchise as far as
Right, because you got to tell
strategizing.
them.
Yeah, here's how
I
this
know.
should go.
I know you got stuff. I know you have information to share and policies to fix, and I know it. I love that. I love that about you. Maybe because some of that is me. I think that's probably what it is. Like, I like that you are so solution driven. Like, you're not the person's complaining about, everybody over 40 Black needs to take care of their bodies and their weight and blah, blah. We hear this a lot. You're like, I'm going to come up with a solution. And I'm going to make a solution where people are going to want to be part of this. And I'm going to help them. And I'm going to support them. I'm going to care for them. So in all that you do, there's a spirit of love and care through everything that you do, which, again, I think is unique in with your approach with the community. Because you don't come at it, even though you're pragmatic, but it's with the spirit of love and softness, which really is, I think that's who you are. And it makes you unique, and it's going to make you that leader that I see, as you start to continue to grow in your leadership role on a global space. Those are things that can attract people and not just within our culture. Right. I see, moving the needle from all cultures, because we're all going to line up one day.
Yeah.
All of this is going to line up. And it's going to take a woman to do it.
Yep.
Of course. Right? Takes a woman. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what, sitting back, watching you in the next 10, 15, 20 years where you're going to be. It's going to be very nice for me. I like watching you now in your space. So you got base going on. That's, nipped and tucked nicely and moving along. And now you have your 3 franchises. You're on the advisory board, so you're going to tell them how to do it. Okay, I love it. Going to help them work it out.
Right.
But knowing you and been working with you and been on committees with you, very approachable, very collaborative. You listen well, so you have a lot of great skill sets. I can see why you're on their advisory board. They'll be a fool not to have you.
Yeah.
So you tell me as we begin to wrap up, what is the joy of your life? I already know the answer. What is the apple of your eye? What is the fire that's inside of you? What keeps you moving?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, is my daughter.
I know.
Like, it just really is. And I'm so proud of her. Like, it is so wild. Like, that little thing. Well, she ain't little. She's a big girl.
Not.
But she came out of me.
Yes.
And, just to be able to, when you're able to look back at some of the decisions that, you made. And, some of them aren't great. But, man, those ones that were just great and amazing, and you see like the fruit from it, like, there's like this different type of joy, that you get. And my daughter Naomi, she's just one of those. And she just, I don't even know if I can take all the credit, but I'm just like, man, she just turned out to be such an amazing, like, awesome, like,
she's a young lady now.
Yeah, she really is.
She's not even, I mean, you want to say kid,
but I know.
Technically,
well, she's still my little tiny baby.
I know, but technically she's a young adult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she is.
She is, and she's thriving.
Yeah.
And making her mark.
Yeah.
And being community spirited.
Yeah, and that's the thing. She's so community spirited, and I love, like, if there's anything that I wanted to pass on, it was that. Bring people together, just love on people, be kind to people, and do good. Like, just find something and do good. But always try your hardest and your best and put everything into it. And that kid does that. I mean, she went through some different challenges, and to see what she's doing now, she still reaches out and she still helps with Afro Scouts, and she's on our calls for our creative writing because she found this love for writing, and she got her first piece published in their newspaper in San Diego. And so she's, helping me even with that from afar, even though she's living in San Diego. And, I was just talking to her also about kind of, you're in college, you start changing your kind of path and what you want to do. But she has this focus on health and technology and how she can bring those together a little bit more, along with kind of this journalism piece. So I don't know how all that's going to come together, but, just talking to her, she's like, I just want to do something good with it. And maybe I'll start with being a nurse so I can help people while I'm finishing my education over here. And it's just like, that's where your mind's going. I love it. I was just so happy, So, I mean, that brings me so much joy just to kind of sit and to listen to her. And nothing's ever it's not self-centered. It's just, I want to do these things and learn these things so that I can, give back in some way, shape, or form.
So who does she sound like?
I know. I don't know.
Who does she sound like? I think I know who she sounds like. I've had the privilege to meet your daughter, and she's all those things and then some, and you've done very well. And the people you've put around her supported her very well.
Yeah.
Because, we have to be strategic who's pouring into our kids. And she's just, like I said, she's a flourishing young adult, creating her space, her lane. But I love that you said, now we're looking at community spirit from your grandfather to your parents to you, now to your daughter. We're looking at 4 generations that still has a heart for the community, which is, again, I think that's just a gift in itself. So as we begin to, enter this year, 2025, I like to ask my guest, what do you have a word that will represent your 2025, and what is that word?
Yeah, I would say community. That is always my thing. But community. And if you just think of just community and what that represents and what that means, and, you know, that's everything. That's all of us. It's all of us coming together. It doesn't matter, you know, what color, and especially as we approach Martin Luther King Day, like, honestly, I think that was the biggest part that I took away from the message, and I just listened to it again yesterday, and it's community.
Which one? I Have a Dream?
Community. Yeah.
Yes, I know
You
it. That
community.
one, every time I hear that, it just does something to your soul. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It is. Community is beautiful. I love that. Love that how you know, even we've defined it. It's good to start at home, but it really is, that's inclusive. Yeah. When we think about adding everyone to community. So good. So if someone wants to reach out to you to support you, you know, financially, because BASE is a nonprofit and it rolls and runs on people supporting it. And I do know that, you know, you do a lot of great things and you have a heart, and I've seen you write your own checks. So, you know, if someone wants to support you, how can they support BASE?
Yeah, we are a 501c3, so you can support us a couple of different ways. You can donate online, basearizona.org. You can just find out more about us online, basearizona.org.
Please do that.
Yeah. We have, like I said, the couple of programs. So whether it's connecting to get your kids involved with our Afro Scouts youth program, that's ages 4 all the way up. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for more educators, because we do serve over 1,300 families in the Valley now.
1,300.
1,300.
Good for you.
Yeah. So we have over 1,300 families enrolled in our youth program and our Base Works program, which connects aspiring entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs to the tools, strategies, resources they need. We tap into financial literacy. We're really expanding and really trying to hit those pillars. But if you want to learn a little bit more, basearizona.org, and you can donate there. You can email us if you want to support by volunteering.
All the things.
All the
things. Please do. Keisha, thank you for being my guest. I love talking to you. You fuel me. You always energize me. You remind me again how important community is to us. I was raised, I have a community heart. You know, I saw my family, my parents, mainly my dad had a heart for the community. So I get that thing. I get that work. It never stops. No. It just morphs into different things. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the work that you've done in the past, and thank you for the works that are ahead of you in the future. And, you know, here at Crystal Clear Moments, we support you. We support you. So thank you, my podcast listeners, for tapping in. And, you know, go ahead, download me at Crystal Clear Moments, subscribe, of course, and give me a 5 rating and write me a review, okay, so that I know exactly how I am supporting you, my listeners, with the stories of our wonderful guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.